Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session on generative AI and assessment. So, what we want to do in this session is take a look at some AI tools and develop some practical ways to use AI to streamline and make our assessment more efficient. So, our objectives identify how AI can be used to support assessment, effective prompting strategies because the AI's work is only as good as the prompt that it is given. Explore some different AI tools that can be used for assessment and feedback, and apply AI strategies to your own assessment. So, speaking of AI tools, there are quite a bit of them. And this selection that's appearing on the screen now really just represents the chatbots and the text to X type AI. Like Firefly is text to image, so is Dali. Runway is a text to video. Um, Midjourney is another text to image. But there are all kinds of different AI tools. And then on top of that, you have the AI tools that are generated or integrated into other applications. And despite the number and the hype around the AI, right now, generative AI can't do anything you can't do. It's just faster. And that's what we're going to look at is how to leverage that speed to free up our time for things that require more of that human touch. Our interactions with students, coming up with those great ideas, um, things like that. So, where AI can probably most help with assessment is in generating the questions. Folks who devote their entire careers to writing test questions, expert test writers, they can only write about two good questions an hour. It's really hard to write really good multiple choice, especially questions, but any kind of question. Um, the AI again can't necessarily do any better, but whereas you can only get two from that human, you can get a list of 20 from the AI, and then the human can just find the two out of that 20 that are appropriate. Generating rubrics, same thing. I wish AI had been around when I first started teaching rubrics for years, decade probably. I struggled with rubrics. Um, Not so much what they were and how they were supposed to work, but how to produce them in a way that was useful to students, and that made it clear what students were supposed to know and be able to do, and really give them the opportunity to use that rubric as a guide. And the generative AI can really help with that. Refining your feedback. One of the things I personal opinion, think is a missed opportunity in Canvas with the multiple choice questions is each answer choice can have its own feedback. That way, if a student's thinking is going in a wrong direction, they can get the feedback they need based off of that wrong answer. So by using the AI to generate questions, you can also have it generate if the student chooses wrong answer C, what does that say about their thinking and how they could correct their thinking to get to that right answer? The generative AI can help develop examples and non examples, as well as directions, thinking about tilting assignments, making them transparent. One of the elements is having an example of work that meets the criteria and work that does not. And we don't necessarily already have that all the time. So the generative AI can help you generate some of those so that students get the benefits of that without a tremendous amount of work, as well as just making sure that those directions are clear. Think of the AI really as like a partner, as an assistant. Sometimes when we're writing, and we even if we read it a couple times, knowing what it's supposed to say, your brain just kind of kicks in and fills in gaps. Whereas somebody who doesn't know what it's supposed to say will can't fill in those gaps, so they can identify those areas that need to be clarified. So the AI can do the same thing. You feed it those directions. What are the opportunities to make this more clear for students? And it can provide some suggestions. No matter how you choose to use the generative AI, your professional knowledge, skills, judgment are always going to be required to make sure that what the AI has produced is not only accurate, but also is free of bias that represents the standards that you want for your classroom, that represent the standards of the college. So always take what the AI gives you as a guide, as a suggestion. Always vet it, read it before you decide to use it. There are also some ethical considerations beyond just the bias that may be present in generative AI. Be transparent with your students about how you use AI, when you use it, and what you do with it. And always keep your alignment in mind, making sure that whatever you're getting out of the AI still represents the learning objectives of your course. So if you're watching this on video, if you can pause, take as much time as you need. Just think about, where do you see AI fitting into your assessment process? And once you've thought about that, kind of have an idea, resume the video and we will continue. So earlier I said during the objective portion that the AI is only going to give you a response that's as good as the prompt that you give it. So in this little demo section, I've already prompted the AI and I gave it this prompt: generate quiz questions about Newton's laws. Now, this is a fairly simple prompt, and you're going to see it did a pretty good job with just that prompt. In the red area to the left, I have my learning objectives, just because we did mention making sure there's alignment. So I wanted to keep those there so that they're in mind as we look at the results that they've given us. So this generative AI, and this was ChatGPT, the free version that I used to create these. It gave us three levels of questions: basic, intermediate, and then there's an advanced level on the next slide, and three questions in each category. They're all multiple choice, A, B, C, D. Accuracy wise, they all look very accurate. Formatting wise, gonna have to work on those equations probably to get those to be accessible. They might be written in LaTeX. I'm not 100% sure, but that would be something we'd have to check and either reprompt the AI to give us, equations in a format we can use or just redo those ourselves. So this is the rest of them. And then the AI did ask, would you like me to add some other question styles? And that is important to note is when it asks a question like that, respond, yes, I'd like a mixture of true, false, and multiple choice. I'd like a mixture of these three types of questions. The more specific you can be, the better. And speaking of that specificity, what would be considered a stronger prompt, same topic, generate five multiple choice questions. So maybe you're doing a bigger exam that's beyond Newton and you don't need, nine questions on the laws. Maybe you just need three. I want one good college level question on each law. Tell it what it is you want. Be specific for a college level physics course, again, giving it that context, letting it know kind of what students are, what they're working with. You can even go as far as to their strong readers, weak readers, they've what they've struggled with, like the trends, anything you can give it to help it match patterns better. Each question should have four answer choices with one correct answer clearly indicated. And what we get back is correct answer in parentheses after. And if that's not the format you want, maybe you want all the questions and then a separate answer key, reprompt it. Regenerate these questions, but put all the answers at the bottom of the page. And it will do that for you. So sometimes you do have to go back and forth with it to get exactly what you want, but that persistence will pay off. And I noticed in this set of questions, for some, it provided an explanation, and for others, it didn't. So if I were, prompting it here, I would ask, why do numbers two and five have an explanation, but no other ones do? You might find it'll just go ahead and write the explanation for all the other ones for you. It might tell you why it chose to do that. Then you can ask it for an explanation. You can ask it for those, give me feedback to include for each answer choice, whether it's correct or incorrect. If it's incorrect, tell students how to correct their thinking. Just keep prompting it until you get everything you want out of it. So, just to summarize, effective prompting is clear and specific, provide as much context as possible. Another thing that would have maybe made that prompt even stronger would be to include your learning objectives. Give it constraints. Don't let it just go wild and write me a exam for college physics, because that'll give you more to go through. So it's better on the front end to say, I want this many multiple choice on these topics. I want this many short answer. How long you want responses to be, how many responses you want. Again, as much information as you can give it in the front end, the more likely it is to come up with what you're looking for. But also be persistent. If it doesn't provide what you want the very first time, reprompt it. Sometimes it's like having a conversation. Um, just keep asking until you get what you want. So now it's time for a little activity here. Using whichever AI tool that you are most fond of or familiar with, um, use that prompting guidance to create a rubric. I would recommend sticking with one of the chatbot styles, such as Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. Give it that context, that how many levels you want, how many criteria, um, and try to get that rubric as student friendly as possible.